Today's big adventure, this 12D Shield, if you've done the last version, be prepared for something new. This one is going to go above and beyond everything that we've ever done before, and you're going to feel it. So as we begin, just like we did last time, this was the original first live event that we ever did in Spirit Mysteries so long ago. And it makes sense that we're going to be relaunching, revamping, beginning anew with Spirit Mysteries again, moving back from Spiritverse, the Spiritverse community anyway, with another more evolved 12D Shield. And so just like before, we're going to get started with a little bit of a workshop here and just talk about why we're doing this and what the significance is. You're welcome to take notes if you like. It could be valuable. All of the studies show that when you take notes, you do generally tend to learn and remember, retain information a lot better. So let's just talk about the body of consciousness. Like, what is that? First of all, we are multidimensional beings. And many today are beginning to realize and understand their multidimensional nature. Many of you have been on this journey for a long time. Some of you say often that you started that journey with spirit science, and some of you picked it up elsewhere and then found spirit science along the way. And for a long time, we've been talking about this multidimensional aspects of ourselves, but so often, for so many people, it's limited to an intellectual knowing. We're still learning to embody the knowing, to really live it in our actions themselves and with our words too, right? If you have all the information, you have all the knowledge, you even have the wisdom, but it's just trapped in your head and you can't seem to get it to translate into your actions, well, that's what we need to, that's the next step. That's the bridge, really. We are not purely physical or material beings. The corporeal form, in fact, is the result of the total expression of our energetic matrix, made up of energy, and it's directed through our consciousness, through our willpower, into everything that we actually do, what we say. And so our words and our actions, they are reflections of the vibration, the vibrational total makeup of who and what we are. And throughout this event, we're going to be using a wide array of different languages and terms. And I wanted to take a moment to just say, for some people, especially if this is a new thing, if you've been just tuning in with spirit science or you haven't followed all the latest, we've been talking a lot about words and language and etymology and even the word of God and asking questions like, what exactly does that mean, the word of God, right? Because to the traditional orthodoxy of Christianity, Jesus is the word of God. But then you go to India and Om is the word of God. And Om is now the vibration of creation. So what exactly is this? What does this mean? Throughout this class and our meditation today, we may end up using some words that might be quote unquote triggering for some. And I wanted to add a little bit of a preface, maybe a bit of a warning. For example, the word matrix. We start saying, the matrix of your body of consciousness. Some people go, nah, I'm trying to escape the matrix. I don't want to be trapped like Neo. But the word matrix etymologically means both grid of information as well as womb, and is related to the divine feminine, which brings forth the material reality through cosmic information and divine wavelengths, that ever-present word of God. So language is very important, and sometimes we can have relationships to words or phrases that can be triggering. Even love and light can be triggering to some. I mean, put that in the chat if that's true for you. If you've been in the New Age circle, but then maybe got disheartened because some people just use love and light so flippantly that it just can get on the nerves. I've met a lot of people like that, and I've been through those waves myself. Be like, you say love and light, but you don't really mean it. But when it's spoken authentically, it's like, well, yeah, I do like love and I do like light. Those things are great. So we encourage, as we go through this, open-mindedness and listening to the deeper intention behind what is being said. So, body of consciousness. Coming back to this. The easiest way that we can identify or understand the body of consciousness is actually through numerology. We can identify that there are different ways of interpreting or understanding the body temple and the body of consciousness. And the easiest way is by going, okay, well, 1, the whole unified being. The 2 is our masculine and feminine energies. The 3 is the mind, body, spirit trinity, which there are many trinities. So we could also say the trimurti within us. We could say the causal, astral, physical aspects of ourselves, and etc. 4 would be the 4 elements, the earth, which is the body, air, the mind, water, emotions, fire, the will. 5 could be the 5 types of prana, vyana, udana, samana, and the apana. And these, of course, can all be broken down and understood to a much greater degree, but we only have so much time here today, so maybe we'll save that for another class. And so on. There's so many different systems that we can look at and interpret the body of consciousness through. One of the next most common ones is, of course, the 7 chakras, and you can keep extrapolating that all the way up to 12. You could also say 10 with the 10 spheres, the 10 sephirot of the Tree of Life. So for us and the purposes of our learning, generally speaking, it's easier to just kind of focus on one at a time, to say, I'm really focused on the 4 elements and bringing those into balance within me. That's a very, very good one to start with. It can be very complex, convoluting even, or complicating for us if we try and take on too many aspects of ourselves at the same time. But as we continue to develop and work with these different systems, then we start to integrate ourselves with all of them. It's like if each one of these numbers could be seen as a different grade, you don't take all grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5 all at the same time. You work through them in stages and eventually get to university, and then all of the things that you learned along the way kind of get integrated together, coupled with even greater information as we go. And that's essentially what's happening here. As we evolve, we're learning the different systems of ourselves and integrating them, and learning how to become a master of our body of consciousness, learning how to integrate a higher spiritual awareness with our words and with our actions, so that we are actually living a life completely harmonized with truth, love, and authenticity. So this is one of our biggest slides here, but we want to talk about how we're connecting with ourselves and with the world and with spirits and all of that, everyone and everything. Because it might seem simple to connect with ourselves on these various levels, these dimensions or planes of our body of consciousness, but the deeper that we go, the more complex things become. And the true spiritual path is a lifelong journey. This has to be understood. A lot of people in this world today have that mentality of like, give it to me now, give it to me fast. Let me go to the McDonald's drive-thru and I'll get an entire meal in 30 seconds. Even though if you went and made a meal or even sat down at a restaurant, you're going to be getting something of significantly higher quality, because the hands that made it with love and made it with care, rather than just slap it together and here you go. So this is a lifelong journey. This is important. Not to say that there's not rapid accelerations that can take place from time to time, though. Because for countless ages of human history, spiritual devotees would take many years of learning and developing the knowledge, wisdom, and intuition within them to become true masters. And this journey may often take lifetimes to develop fully. This is even evident when we read books, for example, like the Autobiography of a Yogi, a personal favorite of mine. We hear about how these great masters that we know of, such as Lahiri Mahashai or Sri Yukteswar, that even they had been on this reincarnation journey, mastering themselves over and over until the last lifetime that they had as the beings of Sri Yukteswar and Lahiri Mahashai, where they attained complete and final liberation, and at the time of their choosing, they dropped their bodies, went into the astral, created a body of light, came back for a little bit, said hello, gave some more wisdom, and then departed off to Hiranyaloka or wherever it is that they wanted to be. It's remarkable to see the journey that we've been on, and that some of the masters who have reached us over time, we can observe them from lifetime to lifetime recorded in history. It's amazing. Now, with that said, though, we are at this age of massive transformation right now, that there is an acceleration. And for those who recall the original Spirit Science Human History movie, there was something in there that was very important, where we explained that there was a 13,000 year cycle that we were going to go through, and we only had 13,000 years to get back to the place that we had fallen from. That normally the journey is far longer than 13,000 years for such a dramatic jump, but we had to do it very, very, very fast. Otherwise, we would be destroyed. And a part of that, what's taking place today, is a part of that rapid acceleration is the introduction of psychedelics. These ingredients, these instruments, these tools, these substances are very useful for supporting that typical mindset of I want it fast and I want it now, because people are in a very, we could say, a very dense state. But what the psychedelics do is rapidly and instantly propel one through the doorway of the ethereal and into the inner mystery. But there are also challenges that arise from moving so quickly. And it can be very disorienting, and it can lead to a lack of inner stability if we do it too much. We have to couple the psychedelic use along with regular meditation and the other spiritual learning and discipline. Otherwise, we end up creating a trap for ourselves. And the whole fine line between enlightenment and psychosis can become very blurred. However, at the same time, these can be one of the most powerful resources that we have available. And we're going to talk about why that is also as we go on here today. But we have to be careful. So there's a lot of ways we can interpret the visions that we see with the psychedelics. We can't always rely on our own interpretation either. It's good to have counselors. It's good to have people to talk to in order to discuss what exactly did I just experience? Why do I feel the way that I feel? What's happening to me? And to have someone who is learned in these things, or even just who can act as a stable center for us, this is very valuable. It's very valuable to have that. But see, this is why in ancient times the mystery schools were established to train initiates in the psychic reality and would support those individuals through years of devotional practice, as well as psychedelic ceremonies, to move them through the many lessons of understanding their ethereal spiritual nature and compel profound growth and transformation. And so this is part of what we're doing right here. This is a part of what Spirit Mysteries is really all about. For the purposes of this big event here, we're going to be taking our sixth sense very seriously. This is a very new concept to so many, and as a result, very few do take it seriously. Yet even now it's being reintroduced to the masses through pop culture. You might be familiar with Doctor Strange and the Multiverses of Madness. I think at the very end there, he got a third eye popping out of his forehead too. And we can start to recognize the imprint that the outer world has on us, and even see how our own field is imprinting itself on the world as we live inside of it. See, we become empowered to upgrade and supercharge our own dynamic field. And today we're going to be bringing a lot of focus to this, clearing our energetic field of impurities, restoring and creating our 12D light body, and strengthening it with the light of the Creator. It's time. It's through consistent meditation that one develops a sense of stability within the third eye. And this is what also helps to navigate those psychedelic states. It also supports the process of opening it. One definitely will find, if they do it enough, the consistent meditation, you start to see visuals just like you would as if you had hit a vape pen of DMT or taken a little bit of a mushroom experience. And the more that you work with it, the brighter those visuals become naturally on their own. But it does take a lot of time. This is why most people don't experience it, because how many people are going to say, I'm going to sit in meditation for 2 hours every day consistently for the next 3 months? It's a big commitment to be able to do that. It's much easier to just take a magic mushroom once in a while. But if we can couple those things together, for those of us who are interested in the psychedelic path, it's a very profound thing. And for those who aren't, again, the consistency of just showing up on the spiritual path is enough. Because at the end of the day, it's not really all about like, oh, I saw magic visuals, or oh, I had this transcendent, trippy experience. That's not really the point. The point is being in service in the highest possible way to humanity. It's just that oftentimes the psychedelic state really helps us to break free of our old patterns and see and perceive the light of our soul, so that it becomes easier to be able to connect with who and what we truly are. So, as mentioned here, with the further addition of healthy lifestyle practices, such as a proper diet, exercise, daily sunlight, daily learning, and so on, we further create a magnificent stability throughout the dimensions of our body temple. And as the third eye opens, it allows us to perceive greater truths of what is going on in the world and within us. And we become discerning to things that before we might have taken for granted. And this isn't new. We all know it. You guys are probably familiar with how many pineal gland symbolisms there are around the world, even in the major world religions. The picture on the left is the big, giant pineal statue at the Vatican, and the one on the right is the ancient Sumerian carvings of one of the Anunnaki holding up a pineal gland, literally pointing at a tree of life. You can see the pattern there. It's very clearly looks just like the whole Kabbalistic tree. So here's where things get very serious. And, it sounds all really fun. Yeah, let's open up our third eyes and see other dimensions and go to the astral and all of this stuff. But in stepping into the psychic realms, we discover that our body of consciousness may not be so clean. It may be covered in psychic implants and energies from the world around us. You might be familiar with a video of ours, something I posted a year or two ago called The Psychic Attack Anchor That Nearly Destroyed Spirit Science, which I described an experience that I personally had that took 44 ayahuasca ceremonies to discover and purge. It was that deeply hidden within me. Mahavatar Babaji describes psychic attacks as any external energy that makes its way into our field and destabilizes us without consent. Generally speaking, we can think of psychic attack as though coming from other people, but it sometimes goes deeper than that or bigger than that. Beings from the astral, for instance, that can be manipulating us from beyond that we don't even recognize. But not to worry. As far as the psychic attack anchor goes, the one that I experienced, I genuinely believe most people don't have to worry about such extreme levels of psychic manipulation. Maybe some of us do, and it really depends on who you are and what you're doing, because I put out a particular vibration that drew a lot of attention to me and a lot of dark forces as well. And I don't think that the average person who's just going about their life and being a light unto themselves and in the world, unless you're really gathering a lot of attention in the astral or in the physical from other people or other forces, you're not going to be drawing such extreme things to yourself, which is good. It gives us all a breath of fresh air. Common psychic attacks then and energies occur naturally as we live our lives and interact with others who are unaware of their own psychic influences. We can also sometimes willingly take them on out of our own insecurities or being unsure of what the energies are. Sometimes negative energies can feel good at first, but be a trap later, much like eating sugar. And this is something, of course, we just need to continue to be present to, of the opportunities that arise in our lives. Are we really following the highest path and the path of our soul? And do these people that we meet really have the highest interest at heart for us? And of course, as we mentioned, we saw the Vatican knows about it, the ancient Sumerians, everyone's got it figured out, but so did the governments. And you'll probably be familiar with MK Ultra. We explored this a little bit in the original 12D Shield opening talk, where hundreds of experiments were performed on US citizens testing the effects of psychedelics on the mind for the purposes of mind control. And even today, many governments are secretly employing remote viewers to spy on their own people and neighboring countries and look at other military installations, probably talking to aliens, all of these kinds of things. And for reference, you can see Russell Targ's TED Talk. This is a banned TED Talk that is available on YouTube. And he's an ex-military official, and he breaks down everything that's going on. And you can see probably why it's banned. But you look up his credentials, and he's very clear. So what does all of this have to do with like the 12D Shield and even the evolution of humanity? Well, the MK Ultra LSD experiments were very, very interesting. The thing that stood out to me, and this is something I've been interested in for a long time, not specifically the MK Ultra, but what happened, because they gave certain people large doses of LSD, and the people who took them really went insane. But they also found that things started moving around them. I mean, like, you imagine a person in a tiny little chamber here, but like the bed and the chairs nearby and the cables and the computers started lifting up and flying around, kind of like something you'd see in Stranger Things. That the people who were given these, even though they went insane and I think in some cases killed them, they also tapped into this state of having supernormal abilities, like something you might see in X-Men, levitating objects, teleporting things, this kind of stuff, telepathy. And the psychedelics fit into this just a little bit in that they can rapidly propel us forward in that direction. But again, it's not just good enough to just take psychedelics and going too crazy on it. And I'm not sharing this to say, hey, listen, if you start taking psychedelics, things are going to start flying around you. No, that's not exactly how it works. And it's not safe to do that. However, it's more about the recognition, Human beings have the capacity to become something so much greater than what we think that we are. We don't have to rely on technology exclusively to do all of the things that we want to do. Just as it is in the astral, they don't have computers in the astral. They can manifest a worldly video game adventure if they want to, just out of their own thoughts. In this world, we got to build the components for making electricity, and then the wires to get them to your house, and then the television technology and all the minerals and components that build that, and then build a game console, and then you have to program the game using a computer that you also built, and then you put the game into the console, and then you can play it, and it's a fun thing. And in the astral, they're just like, imagine like Hyrule, and they can just bring that whole world to life and experience it if they want to. And that's such an amazing idea. But of course, that's a different plane than ours. It's a different reality entirely. But the thing is we're not so limited and trapped if we don't want to be. But in order to get there, we have to practice and maintain levels of inner stability and purity so that we're not so weighed down by the conscious gunk that surrounds us all the time. So inner stability is the key. And we have here some kind of apocalypse because, apocalypse means lifting of the veil. And a lot of people think that we are in some kind of end times right now. That, with all of the things that are going down in the world, we'll see where things go. But at the end of it all, what is put forth, at least by the majority of these ancient religions and traditions, is that on the other side of our great apocalypse, the lifting of the veil, people see the truth of who and what we are. We enter into a new kind of peaceful reality. And in that reality, because there is global peace, we are granted the permission from the divine to be able to then step into higher levels of understanding, that we don't have to rely on the technology so much anymore. And we can learn to, maybe it's levitate, maybe it's bend the elements. That would be very fun, right? We'll see where things go. Ultimately, that is about the relationship between humanity and God. So the goal then is to attain what Krishna called being transcendentally fixed upon the center of our wheel of Dharma. We have sort of a picture of this here. This man meditating and sitting in perfect peace. While the wheel spins round and round, he is centered in the middle of it. And so he doesn't move while the world around him does. And this means being fixed and aligned with spirit so that no matter what ups and downs befall us in life, we are unmoved, strong in courage, wisdom, and inner power. And this is what it means to walk as one with the Tao. Before we begin this meditation, we're almost there. Thank you for your patience, because I know there's a lot to cover here, and this is very important material. We have to have some groundwork before we really go the distance with the meditation. And many of us may be brand new to the spiritual path, and others may be 10 plus years on the journey and feel we have a lot of, a good handle on everything. But at every level of the journey, there's always more to learn. And it's through humility that we step into the next level for all of us. As far as discipline goes, anyone ascends rapidly into mastery the more time and effort they commit to their journey and process. Those who study and meditate regularly move much quicker compared to those who don't. And by that measure, we can even see, someone who might have been on the journey for 10 years, but kind of superficially, might not be as spiritually mature as someone who's only been on the path for a year, but who has been meditating and reading for 3 hours a day very consistently. There's a level of devotion involved, and it's in the devotion to our spiritual journey and our practices that we discover really just what we're capable of and how far we can go. But yet, regardless, with all of that said, we are on the path that is right for us. Some may be called to spend more time in the spiritual, and others may be more compelled to work in the material world. And no matter where we spend our time, if we are in service and devotion to God, we are on the right track. That's a very important thing. It's not always about meditating all the time and that's exclusively the thing, because if the work that you're doing is very physically oriented, but you're being in service, that's amazing. And thank you for your service and for your love. So we are all a part of this human consciousness field, and we all give and receive thought waves, emotional waves into this field. And right now, things are getting harder. We have to acknowledge this because the Earth is destabilizing its own electromagnetic field as we seem to head for a geomagnetic reversal. This is what might be considered a pole shift, and this would go coinciding with our great apocalypse. Thoughts and feelings have an outward effect just as actions do, whether wicked or benevolent. And the quality of our energetic being is going to dictate both how stable we are inside and how much of an uplifting effect we will have on the world around us. And not only do they have an effect, they literally are the drivers of the ship, steering our words and actions, which we've looked at before. And this creates our reality. So we're about to get ready here. So one of our concluding slides is, so that we're very clear, the 12D shield is primarily focused on cleaning up the energetic components of our body of consciousness, helping us to become more luminous, strong, and energized so as to be able to appropriately live in a world that is quite energetically chaotic. And in addition to this, the spaces that we create here in Spirit Mysteries are also designed to support the elevation of our material habits as well, uplifting our speech, boundary setting, and other practices that we might directly translate these energetic shifts through our bodies into the physical world. We want to invite you to treat this with very high regard. You're welcome to use it as often as you like. And with this new edition of the 12D Shield, you are invited and encouraged to share it with anyone that you like. We have a link available inside the Spirit Mystery School that you can give out to those who you think would find it beneficial. Okay. Are there any questions before we begin? Please put them in the Zoom chat below. These questions will also be collected. We'll answer a few of them here. I imagine we might have plenty. But we'll collect all of the questions, and then for the ones we don't have time for, we will answer them inside the 12D Shield module inside of Spirit Mysteries. Caitlin asked, would you suggest sitting, laying down? Actually, sitting is preferred, and this is how the meditation begins. So we actually explore it there. But sitting is preferred. You can lay down. If you are going to lay down, I recommend laying down on a firm surface. Something like a bed is not as conducive because your spine is not going to be able to hold as straight of a posture. It's going to sort of flex and flow with the different weight of your body. What is the best way to consistently clear and elevate our energy body, especially if we do energy and healing work? Well, the regular practice of meditation is very important. I think that one is one of the best ways to go because it's through the act of meditation as well as breath work, we can consistently move the energy through our body and purify ourselves in this way. I also personally, again, this is something that's very true for me, and I think that it might be true for a lot of other people, which is why I speak to it. And I don't want to be afraid of speaking to it anymore, but the regular practice of having like consistent but very well put together and intentional psychedelic ceremonies can also be very, very valuable in the journey of physical or energetic purification. So that is something that, we speak to. We have a course called Spirit Medicine Walkers to talk about it further, but they can be very, very valuable in this journey. One person says, I'm Christian. Is this okay to do? Yes, but I also like what Stargift says. Answer that for yourself. Tom, how long is the meditation? It's probably going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. And I apologize, we are running a little bit behind here because I just wanted to load up this class with as much as I could. And it did go a little bit longer than intended. We also started about 5-10 minutes into the hour because we wanted to invite and make sure that enough people could come in. And I'll say this as the last question, and then we'll save and collect all of the other ones. How often should this 12D meditation be done after now? That really falls on you and your intuition to know. You could do it every couple of weeks if you wanted to. If you really wanted to, you could do it every single week. But it's really up to you of what you feel that you need. Because if you go through this meditation once and then you're continuing to meditate normally and regularly, I would say that it's not so needed all the time unless you get to a point where you feel like your energetic field is starting to get mucky. All right. So with that, we are going to move into the meditation now. I want to honor everyone's time, and I thank you for flowing with me here. And again, we'll save all of these questions and we'll answer them in text in the 12D Shield module. And so with that, let us experience together this new 12D Shield.